All right. So guys, what's the vibes? How you guys doing? If you watched the video yesterday, then you can tell that I'm elated. You know, just happy about seeing this play out. One of the things I enjoy more than making money, right? Am I right to say that? But honestly, it's really fascinating to have an idea and then see it play out, right? And that motivated me to get into my content creation bag once again, and I was able to make a video about this on IG, right? If you do not know or if you do not follow me on IG, right, you can. It is Yinka_me. And yeah, you'd see, some of the things I got going. Maybe you don't know what my face looks like. You kind of put a face to this video with that. So it's Yinka_May. All right. So I talked about how we could very well see sell side and how I would be selling gold. I mapped out this level originally, this OB, right? But I was able to get into that OB. I think I was filled in somewhere around here and we've seen the crash, right? I don't know if I need to explain again, but my reasons for selling gold are very simple, right? We have the yield market expanding, right? And the yield market, right, expanding means one thing and one thing only. The feds are not looking to cut rates anytime soon, right? They're either going to hike rates or they're going to let rates, the rates stay the same, which is already very high, right? A balanced rate for an economy is 2%, right? So the Feds aim for 2% for what we would call efficient rate system, right? So right now it is high, but the reason why we can't cut rates is because we have a problem, and that problem is inflation. And inflation right now, right, which is, expensiveness of goods and services, in the country and for oil globally is oil, right? So oil is the reason why we have inflation right now. Oil is what transports everything, right? So if oil is expensive, everything gets expensive. And as you can see, oil has risen all the way into somewhere today, $93 per barrel, which is crazy. Like just 2 weeks ago, we were $70 per barrel. Oil has moved from those lows, which is 2 weeks ago, has moved 37.9%. Yesterday, we were just looking at that at 30%, and today it moved, another 7%, which is crazy. So we're seeing, we're seeing oil, just rise and rally here, and that would cause the yield market. Let's look at the 10-year yield, right? Would cause the yield market to also rise, and that would cause, right, risk assets to be under pressure. Now, when it comes to risk assets, we're looking at the precious metals, gold, silver, and I kind of like to throw in BTC in there, even though I'm not a fund trader of that. I rarely get an entry on BTC, right? But I explained why we could see this fall. This is the daily time frame. We have taken out that trend line inside of here and we've returned back into this bearish order block, right? And yeah, that was why I was selling yesterday, and it was a good sell, right? Price moved, a couple thousands of pips. Right, yeah, somewhere around 8,000 pips right to the close of the day. And I still have positions on this because I'm expecting that we return back into old lows, at least, coming down into these levels, and I'll be taking more partials there. So it's not a lot to talk about today, but I just wanted to show you this again. All right, price return back into that 4-hour bearish order block. This is the bearish order block. Now it's a rejection block that I marked out here. It's a bearish order block that's been tapped here. The midpoint was still left open, but we had the mid rejection block. Now the rejection block lines up with something interesting on the 1 hour, which I like, which is the bearish order block. Look at that bearish order block on the 1 hour. I love that. So now this is where I like to engage price, right? At the premium part of the range, you ask what range, this low to this high. Every single time I'm looking to engage price, I'm looking for a range and I'm trying to position at the premium or the discount if I'm buying of that range. The reason is the core principle of every market is that at premium prices, this is where sales happen, right? At discount prices, this is where buys happen. So even if I do not have anything right, one of the things that gets me confident to get into a trade is where are we in terms of premium and discount? Like if I look at this high to this low or this high to this low, coming all the way up here is premium enough for sales. If we look at this overarching high here to this low and we see where price is coming down from, this is premium. Now, if we scale that back and look at this, we have low, we have high, and we're starting to get into discount levels. Now, this is where trades can be sketchy. I'm not saying this can go lower, but getting an entry now is, a lot more uneasy than getting it here, if you get what I mean, right? Although I'll still be seeking for one. If I find one, I'll be glad to engage and just write this down all the way to this lows. I think gold can still return back to 39.58 as long as the story still remains that, we have rising yields and we have the oil market stay higher. Now, these things can change at, any point. We can have a news release coming for de-escalation on the war, and then oil just drops, right? The Strait of Hormuz is open, and oil just drops, and the yield just follows through, and gold starts to rally again, right? Now, you can say that, gold is maybe due for buy side, but I think you don't want to be the one to pick the bottoms or the tops of any market, right? You want to take it slow. You want to be able to follow price as it goes. What does that mean? We are seeing lower highs, lower lows on the daily time frame. As I said yesterday, if we start to take out this high, that would start to signify, a lot more bullishness than, just runs inside of the ranges as we've seen every time we've had those runs price has it has been met with more sales or more sellers like some people like to call it, right? But yeah, that's the idea. I'm looking at that. Look at that engulfing candle, and I want to see continuation. I talked about some other markets yesterday, and EU, GU, and again, everything played to perfection, right? We saw GU expand lower. This was beautiful, right? GU expanding lower because I explained the TCs on why we do not have to see GU go all the way up here. And like I said yesterday, if we return back inside of here, right, it'll be a good entry to get into. But this is a breakout. This is the last down close candle before the run here, and then we break mark structure. When you understand these levels, you can take a bet. You can make a decision on why you want to see continuation or sell side, especially when there's a triad, right, that you don't want to miss. If you trade the currency market, you need to look at GU, EU, DXY. It's just a thing you need to do. So if we look at this, we see EU running into a bearish order block this morning, right? That's midnight time. We get into this 4-hour bearish order block. Why GU just stays in the covers. GU just stays below yesterday's high. That's a divergence, right? And the divergence shows you that, oh, price is not price on this particular scale or on this particular asset is ready to move already. And this still has a little bit of institutional accumulation to do, rubbing out old highs and then falling off. So this was a pretty trade. We had, a couple of people in the inner circle just nailed this trade to perfection, right? We also had, one of our guys Nathaniel, buy USD very interesting trade also there. And again, I was holding the fort for gold. So it was a full circle moment today to finally see movement after, all of the jargon that we've been seeing. Right. So we saw EU go lower, GU go lower. And lastly, I spoke about NAS. Right. And if we go to NAS, right, it's just beautiful how, you know, everything just lines up. Everything just lines up, just like I said yesterday. Right, we had that bearish order block here. Right, send price lower, and I told you I want to see a break through this, and then the return would set me up for a trade. Now we didn't have that return here, but I think it's still there. This is still a drawn liquidity this low and this low. So a run back into any sort of premium would send price lower. But again, if you think about the GU trade, I said when we have breakers like this, right? Don't be surprised if price just continues without going all the way up here for a retest, right? Because there's a breaker. Down close candle run on buy side liquidity will break through. It's the same thing. We've taken our buy side liquidity, so it's ready as it is to actually seek sell side. So these are the things I'm watching. These are the things I'm still watching out for. Nothing has changed much, right, on how I'm looking at price. And if something does, I update you. I hope you've been having a nice trading day. The inner circle slots just got opened. So if you want to be part of the inner circle, you can reach me on again, Yinka underscore me IG, right? And we can get you set up. It is $55 a month, right? And there are a few things you need to have before you get into the inner circle. It's not for everyone, unfortunately, right? But send me a message and let's see if we can work that out. All right, family, I would see you in the next one. Bless up.